All right, so I just turned on recording. This is Jeff, the Big Hairy Dog, and this is a webinar on Crunch reports or Prism reports. We are currently looking at the dashboard of Crunch reports. Anyone who needs to, please feel free to ask questions or chat. I've got the chat open so I can see it. And so feel free to just hop in there and say something, and or I'm not sure if you can, if the microphones work, but if they do and you can say something, I'd be certainly open to any questions. There's a lot going on. So there are 2 versions right now. This is version 9 right here that we're looking at, and there's also a version 10. And that is version 10. It's on a different machine. I don't have any dashboards set up, but that's the look of version 10 right there. And there are advantages to both. Version 10 is brand new, and there's a few things that kind of need to be adjusted possibly. So probably most of this is going to be done on version 9. There's your version 9 reports menu, and as opposed to version 10 one, right? All right. Let's see which way. This is logging in normally, right? Let me see here. There's a few things I want to show you about the setup, and I don't think that matters which version we're on. Just grabbing my password here, right? Okay, that's what I wanted to know. All right, so when you first install this, you've got to come in and you've got to create users, and then you have to also go down and create roles. So and then you have to drag, like this user will be over here. You have to drag it over and make it a member of a given group or role that you create, right? And then you have access controls, right? So once you have users and a role created and they're attached, then you get to go in and say, like out of the gate, for instance, the expert mode will be a blocked. It'll be on this side here. You'll have to bring it over and give yourself access to. That's really the only adjustment you have to make in security, but up front, I just want to make sure everybody's good with the fact that you're going to have to come in here and do these minor things for as many users as you have, as many licenses as you buy, right, or get. The database, you have to connect the database. So if you don't connect to the server, typically by name, the port should already be in there. 1521 is the Oracle port, but you've got to connect it to the database and save it, and it connects up. And in here is your email settings. So reports can auto email, but obviously you've got to connect it up to your email. This is a virtual machine. I don't really have an email set up on this virtual machine, but this is where you would set up, and that works pretty well actually. There's some field mappings. haven't done much there yet. The maintenance really is about importing and exporting. So you can import reports or export reports if you want to move them from one location to another. There are some reports that Retail Pro has written, and we have up on they're up on Retail Pro's website that can be imported to add to the list, shall we say. That's pretty much what goes on in the admin level, right? So the admin level, both versions have an admin level just like this. Not much has changed there. And you have to go in first and configure it and basically you have to license it first. I'm not going to go over licensing, but when you install it, you have to license it. But we can assist with that. That's pretty easy. You have to go up to the Retail Pro website and allocate a license to, and then you have to use that allocation to license your copy. And then you have to set it up and test it and make sure it's working, right? And then sign out, sign back in as the other user, and you pop into reports. All right. Normally when you pop into reports, like version 9 is set up and you see some dashboards. So you're going to see dashboards if you've got them set up. If you don't have them set up, it's going to bypass the dashboards. Any report you can add a report to any dashboard, and you can then attach it to the well, you can visualize a report. You can create a graph on a report, and you can push that to the dashboard. If I could get my terminology correct. All right, in version 9 here, since I have dashboards, it starts on the dashboards, and I have to go to see reports if I want to see reports. So here's the reports. There's my reports, and then there's other reports. These are reports that came with the installation, and then these here are reports that were either imported or created right on my end, right? Now, some basics here to run one of these reports. See, what do we have here? Well, I guess we could try a sales vendor summary, right? Double arrow here is to quick run. The arrow is to run, right? So if I click quick run, it just runs, right? It just goes and runs, and then there's the data, right? Now this is a report about vendors, right, at the vendor level, right? So initially it displays with the aggregate or subtotal, grand total in this case, right, at the bottom there, and I have to open up this subsidiary. So this thing's grouping by subsidiary and then totaling by subsidiary, and it shows initially with just that one line. I can then open the little subsidiary to show more detail. I can sort on any one of these, right? I can make them alphabetical either direction. I could sort this by quantity. I can sort it by any column, right? So I can move columns around if I don't want the column to be in a certain place. I can drag this over. I can drag this over, right? I can filter this here if I want to find, something that has BAN in it. Okay, apparently I turned off. Notice it is cap sensitive. So I actually made the mistake there just now, right? I'm having my caps off. I thought I was turning it on. I typed in BAN. There is a BAN in there, but it's not a BAN in lowercase, right? It's a BAN in uppercase, right? So that's Oracle, by the way. That's cap sensitive. And so I could collapse this if I don't want to see this stuff over here, right? Here's my visualize button. If I wanted to visualize this report here, I could say I want my vendor code and I want a quantity sold, and I want it to be in a bar graph, or I want to do it in a pie graph, right? Um, We can also get rid of these if we don't want these hanging around. Filters. If we're running this with a filter, we can set up rules. And I am not seeing the rules I was looking for in here. Right. So this is, I was looking for a date, but this particular report doesn't have a date built in, which I don't know why. We would have a date on all of our reports, but for a given type, you can then create different rules. So these rules here have been edited and saved, right? So you can have rules that are already edited and saved in here, and then you can apply them. And if you then want to open them up, you can open them up and see what's going on. So store one is a numeric equals 1, right? So I mean, we could edit this. We could change that if we wanted to, right? All right. Let's see what we got here. All right, DCS and description. So we could do DCS by sold number and maybe do one with description here by sold number, which is a little crazy. But what I wanted to kind of show you is that these things change, that they're sensitive, right? If you click on one of these, it'll change the other chart, right? They're all connected, right? So if we have DCS by sold quantity or by sold dollars, and we do a pie graph and we click on, right, that's good. That would be 100% then. I clicked on a department, it's going to be 100%. I deselect that, it goes back, right? Of course, a item only has one department, right? Right. You can also, while you're visualizing, you can click the little data tables and you can see the data underneath it, right? For whatever you're looking at. All right, so obviously all these reports can be scheduled. In fact, there's a scheduler right there, but there's also a scheduler built in. There's a scheduler right here. You can click in here and you can schedule an email address, say what the frequency is. So there's a built-in scheduler to automatically email these reports out, built into the software. Okay, so right. Okay, so let's get back into a report. I got some notes here that I'm trying to follow along on. You can right click here and you can be able to, right, you can remove columns. So I missed that first time. I wasn't quite on the header, right? But I could take columns off. If I didn't want to see the sold quantity here, I could take that off or I could bring it back. We already sorted, we're good. Right. Let's see here. We got items. We got, okay, so um, Right. So right. So I just added an aggregate, right? So I selected DCS on the top, group by DCS, total for me, and picked a value, right? And we could do other values too. We could say we want price to be in there too, apply, right? And we want to, total. Well, I wouldn't total the rank, and I don't know that I care much about price with tax, but we could do that, right? Now that blows up the rank that was there, right? This report here was a top end report, meaning that it was already ranking. And by putting an aggregate in, putting a subtotal in, you're sort of blowing that up, right? Now I'm saying first group it by DCS, so the rank kind of goes out the window. But the point is, you can build in aggregates for whatever you want to build in, right? That's kind of the point. Whatever report you're playing with. Um, right. If we have a report, we also can export this on the top here. Any report can be exported out CSV, comma separated value, Excel, PDF, or email. I don't have Excel on this virtual machine, so it's gonna be tricky to do one of those. We could do PDF probably. Um, right. All right. All right. There's also this pivot table here. Um, which I'm not being terribly successful at using here. Um, let's start over here. Let's go back and get a fresh report. Um, all right. Well, I apologize. That is not working out for me. Um, so I have to say that I'll circle back on that. I don't know why I'm not able to get my pivot table to fly here. Um, let's circle back to reports and click plus on this report. So there are three modes in building report. There's simple, advanced, and expert. Simple basically allows you to pick fields. Advanced is going to allow you to pick fields and make join statements. And expert mode is full on expert mode where you're actually having to write the SQL into a statement here, right? So we start with like simple mode here and take a look at simple mode. Let's start with sales. In sales, then we would go to column outputs and we would have to find some stuff. So if I type DCS, it's going to find things that contain DCS, right? So DCS active, that's the active mark for DCS. DCS long name, DCS code. So if I pick DCS code, then I can over here say what I want to call this. Like I could choose to call it DCS. And if I want to use it for filter only, I would check this off. Otherwise, I would click the little plus sign. Then I could go in here and type in quantity or sold document sold quantity, right? There we go. There's document sold quantity, which we could just call sold quantity. Price. So document item price, which we could just call price. Now notice that there isn't a there's not really a extended price. So with the extended price, you actually have to write your own sort of. So you have to grab the fields that you want, and you have to modify them and make the expression. So document item price. Oh, nice. Now that in and of itself is not quite right. So we have to put in here sum, right? And then basically multiply and save that. And then take the other half and put in the closing bracket, right? All right, so that's the way it should be. And of course, this one here now, we don't need this one anymore. This one we just put in there to give it the fields and make it possible that so we could do that. Okay, created DCS created date. I don't really want DCS created date. I wanted post date would work. Ship. I was looking for created date of the document, but post date is the date that it posted to the main, typically the same day actually. So created date. There we go. Yeah, post date created date is fine. Right. So then here we could do like aggregates, but this is already at the department level, right? So I don't know that I need another aggregate. We're not doing items here. But we could add, we could select a column and do an aggregate, but subtotaling by the department wouldn't be helpful. There's an alert function built in that you can have it alert you if some criteria is met at a certain time. Graphs here, we could add a graph. Can we add a graph? Let's see here. All right, maybe we have to save this thing first. And right, and I'm pretty sure I don't have any data before that. Maybe I do have data before that.
Richard, call extension 245, Richard.
Let's try a quick run here and see. Well, obviously I did something wrong. Records fetch 0. Right, edit. Take a look at one of these other reports here. Right, so guessing this one was built in expert mode. And so what we're looking at here is we're looking at an SQL statement. If you're not familiar with SQL statements, they're pretty easy to Google, but you have a basic select statement here where we're writing a select statement here. And this has got a little nested select statement, but so select tables from, and there's a from statement down here that says what tables to pull and how to join them. Which this is more than we could go through in a basic reports webinar, but kind of hoping to find one that we could look at the these are all written by Retail Pro, so they're all in advanced mode. They're in expert mode. There's nothing in advanced mode. Right. Hey, sorry, didn't see those things were under my outline. So, wondering if you can put a sample report PDF in a downloadable or emailable format so we can review. Hoping to see filtering for dollar ranking reports. Should be able to filter by any field if we add it to the filter. And ranking is any report can be ranked by any field by sorting it. Can we see 2 different time periods? Yes, I have not seen any reports that do that yet, but I suspect we can. So emailing, because my chat typing, yeah, that's fine. Can you please show us how to Google SQL statements for this? Oh yeah, I mean, be careful what you ask for on that one. I'm just going to tell you that Googling SQL statements are, you're going to get a lot of stuff. If you said SQL select statement, you would get a lot of responses on that, right? So, I mean, that's, you're going to find a ton of things. This W3 School, I use these guys a lot off and on to find a basic select statement, but there's multiple statements going on in that report. So if you're looking to Google something here, you're looking at Googling a select statement. Now, what we see this one here. This one's different, but this is a more basic select statement, right? So select a store number. So a store number in the from statement down here, it's going to say store, and it's going to have an a as an alias, right? That's what's going on with the a there. All right, so A is, I guess, document. The name of the table here is document. So RPS is the database. Document is the table. And the alias shall be from this forward A. So select A dot store number, document store number, right? Store code, A cashier full name, B employee 1. So B is document item, right? B. Full associate, B employee 1, full associate. Some decode is an if then. B item type 2 or quantity -1 or quantity. So I'm not sure. I would have to look and see what item type is. If item type's a 2, right, then that's then you gotta do this. It's a condition that must be met in order to get it, or the else is the quantity there. Sold number, round, sum, decode. So what I'm saying is a lot going on here. If you haven't written SQL before, you're going to have to understand what a decode statement is, right? But that's just the same as doing a select statement. Decode statements are also pretty easy to find out there. And it gives you the format of what a decode statement should look like. And if you don't like one website, I mean, there's some decent examples here, but there's always plenty of right, plenty of examples, right? But then we get down into inner joins and join statements. Now the other one we were looking at too, just to make sure you're everybody's on the same page here. What was that? Not a, was it a vendor? I don't remember which one we did before. Let's just peek in here. So a lot of times, and you'll see this, maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't here. Now this one is pretty clean. So the first one we looked at, well, there's a version of it here. This will work. So we're saying select here on the top, select these fields here, right? Then they're saying from, and the table they want doesn't actually exist in the form they want it to. So then they're saying from this select statement, basically, Control Z that. So from this select statement right here. So they're going into what's called a nested select, which is a technique, right, that they use a lot of times. So they're saying from, and then inside here in the nested select, they're doing a normal from statement, right? From RPS document A, inner join RPS document item B on the SID, right? The doc SID. So the item sales table, right? The document item table would have the document number that the items came from. There could be more than one item on a given transaction. And the document table would have its document number. So the SID, the system ID, right? that's the key. That's always the key, by the way, would be what you're connecting that to, right? Now that then in turn, you're going to have to connect that to inventory at some point because there are no item descriptions on there. So if this was reporting on item descriptions, I don't know that it is. It's a vendor summary, so no, it's not. But to get, you're going to have to get the vendor code. Now they're getting the vendor code probably from inventory, and right. So join RPS subsidiary on subsidiary number. Okay, fair enough. Interjoin RPS DCS-D on subsidiary. So they're saying that the subsidiary SID and the DCS SID have to equal. Correct, by the way. Yeah, you almost always have to say connect them on the subsidiary level, the company level. Okay, so then B DCS code equals D DCS code. So D is the actual DCS, the DCS code database. That's going to have the department code and the department name, where B is the item table, right? So B is connecting the item table to the DCS code, which I'm not sure why they're doing DCS codes with a vendor summary. Haven't got there yet, but all right, so right, here's the one I was looking for, didn't see initially, right? RPS invin SBS item will be called I, right? So there's your items coming over. So the item table has the department code, the vendor code, right? Description 1, 2, everything, right? So join that item table to the item, right? So B is the sold items, and I now is the items in inventory, right? So we're going to connect those on the item level SID, right? So they're connecting item level SID to item level SID. So every item being sold now has a department and a vendor and a description, right? And then we're connecting the vendor V on vendor I vendor. So I vendor SID equals V vendor SID. So they're connecting the vendors. So now I is connected, the items that are sold are connected to inventory, and inventory is connected to the vendor database, right? That's what's going on there. So that they can call up the vendor code, right? So they're up here, they're calling up the V vendor code from this, right? So you see up here R vendor code, and you see that right down here, just to make sure we're tying up everything, that left bracket right there after the from, here's the right bracket down here, and as it ends, it takes on an alias of R, right? So we're saying select all of this stuff from this select statement down here that we're creating that has a join statement that then has a where clause. So after it selects all the fields it wants, creates them one by one. Some case is when this equals that, then that, right? So when item B item type equals 2, then B quantity -1, else B quantity end. So times the original price as extended OP, right? Original price, right? So they're actually typing out and creating the original price, and then the extended price, and the discount, and the cost, and the quantity up there. And the where clause or receipt type is in 0, 1. 0 is a regular, 1 is a return. And item type is in 1, 2. I'm not sure what 1, 2 and status equals 4. And subsidiary number, door number. Not sure what the phrasing is on here. I'm not familiar with that yet. I'd have to go look at that. And the trunk that created date time, they probably don't want to see the time. And then order by vendor code, right? At the bottom here. Or well, order by company and then by vendor code. Order by our subsidiary name and then by vendor code, right? So anyway, probably deeper than anybody wanted to go into SQL land. But this was a pretty good example. I mean, you can really see the mechanics of what's going on in the SQL level. So so any of these reports could be copied. By the way, there's a copy function right built in. So you can duplicate this report and take the thing and go hack around with it, right? You can visualize any of these reports. You can schedule any of these reports. You can edit, you can delete, you can quick run them. I think we've looked at the filter. And I know, Laura, you joined late, so I don't know when you joined because I had my outline kind of over that. So I'll just pop back in here real quick and make sure that you get that here you can sort by any column, right? You can filter by any column. You can choose to display or remove any column that you don't want to see. In here, with the data we have here on the bottom, yeah, I haven't seen two periods either. I suspect we could do it. You can a select statement. You could select anything you want to select. It's just a matter of writing it. That's a good call. Real quick, all right, let's go see what we have here. Have they written any that have two sales periods? Because I would suspect they have. So here we have on hand sales, receiving, and transactions. So they have multiple data types there, which are going to need multiple sales ranges. Top end, merchandise, DCS. I have not actually looked around at that, but obviously I know it's possible. Okay, so here's a comparison report, this period versus last year, DCS, right? So let's quick run and take a look and see what it says. Let's collapse this so we can see the whole thing. All right, so they're using L for last year and C for current year, right? And my data is not terribly exciting. I mean, it's a sandbox, so it's not going to be outstandingly exciting, is it? So this is showing the right. So I'm guessing that this is grouping it by department, apparel, right? And in my crappy data thing, I have two departments. I have basically just apparel and apparel men's tops, right? So if we had a better DCS structure here, right, we would have multiple DCSs under one master department, right? That's what we would have. It would make more sense in well, so the question is, how easy is it to add by item vendor so we can see bigger, more items and sorting? Well, I mean, this report here is a comparison at the DCS level. So the SQL on this report is querying only data at the SQL level. However, that being said, you could easily have a report that's at the item level that will let you manipulate the data and aggregate it at any level you want. So the question is, if we looked at that go back here. Let's go back down to those reports that were comparison reports, because there was a bunch of them, right? I saw several. Where were they? Right. So this is DCS. This is DCS simplified. This is by store. So we'd have to take one of these and look at the code, and we would have to add. We'd have to make a version of this that was at the item level, right? That's what we'd have to do. So now, if we have the DCS code, we have the tools we need, right? So if we were to copy this report, I'm not sure I could take it on right here on a webinar, but if we were to copy this report, to do a DCS report, I need to have item sales. I need to have the invoice table probably. I need to have the inventory table, because the items, as they're sold and they have the SID. They don't have the DCS in the item sales history. So you're going to have to connect that back to inventory, right? There's no way around that, right? So select store, store code, D name, C name, S name, right? Sum these things from, skip down to from here. So from the document, right? There's your receipt. That's the actual invoice table. Join the item table on the document SID. Join the subsidiary. Great. Got to have the subsidiary in there. Join the DCS D with the on the SID and B DCS code. So I'm guessing DCS code is in the item table maybe, because this has a B DCS code, right? But here we're joining RPS Invin SBS item, right? So there's your item table, and there's the I. So if we were to go back up to the top here and add in that we want I description 1, right? It's already joined, right? We already know that that the item SID here is already attached. The I item SID and the B item SID is already attached. So every item. So up here, if we were to make a copy of this and we were to start hacking around with this code here, we could add in here the proper names. Now we'd have to look at the names. Now, on that point, I should give you guys a leg up, since you're asking such pertinent questions. Thank you, by the way, for that. What if I don't know the table names? What if I want to go in here and hack around with this? I mean, you make a copy of a report, you go hack around with it, and then delete it if you need to, right? I mean, not a big deal. But what if I don't know the tables and I don't know how to get the tables, right? How would I find that out, right? So the answer is that in version 9 or in Prism management, right? Either one, same thing, by the way. This is an RIL installation, so it has Prism management as its Retail Pro 9 function, but it's just Retail Pro 9 in a different skin, right? Open file location. Now I'm cheating. I'm just going in the back door, but in your tools menu in either one, you have Technician's Toolkit. So main menu tools, it'll say Technician's Toolkit, right? If you go into the Technician's Toolkit, which thank God I already have open, and to the right place, you want to find this thing called SQL Shell, right? An SQL Shell lets you look at the damn tables, literally. So now let's just slide up to the top and collapse this. So we understand the lay of the land here, right? Okay, so Retail Pro 9 uses tables and views, the R Pro ODS tables and views, right? And Prism uses RPS tables and views, right? So if we're in Prism and we're writing reports on the Prism database, so they're going to be RPS dot something, right? Whereas the tables here, they're just specified by the name of the table. So let's just do a quick compare and contrast on inventory. So if I just go in here, and I could select it up the top here, but I'm just going to scroll down so we get the lay of the land here, right? So every table that's being used in Retail Pro 9 or RIL right here is listed, right? And Invin SBS is the primary table. There's the item descriptions, right? Right above it, just like while we're here, I'm going to point to the fact that there's an invoice item table. There's the invoice item table B that we were joined to earlier. And you see here we have an invoice SID and we have an item SID. We don't have, in this one, we don't have any DCS. We just got how many we sold and what the price was, right? And then we have down here, we have an invoice table. So there's your invoice SID and the receipt number, right? So you connect all three of those, invoice SID on invoice SID, item SID on item SID to the inventory, right? And you get the whole picture of what's going on. So let's collapse that and let's go take a look at that other table. So in here, RPS, it was called document. And so there's our document SID, right? And then there was document item, right? There's our document item. And so they've kind of improved the quality of the data in these tables too. So like in version 9 in RIL, they didn't have the name of the cashier. They had the ID and you had to link back to the cashier table to find that out. Here's your document SID. Door number. Yeah, normal stuff, price, cost. Gonna have to have all that stuff, right? So scanned UPC code, that's nice. Discount percent, note fields, great. The note fields are always powerful. Oh, look at that, wow. So they actually are bringing in the DCS elements to the table. So it called up, it said b.dcs code, and I was a little skeptical, but it's just right there. So, um, so yeah, with that, you could actually probably not have to join the item table, which would save you a lot of work in the SQL. Well, at least one join statement, right? But it looks like it is carrying a version of all of these item descriptions with it. Employee names. So it looks like they made some nice improvements to the tables. I haven't played with these tables much yet. All right, so does that help as far as like if I wanted to add something, I now know how to add whatever I want to add to this. I can come here and I can see, because when you add it, you're gonna have to add it by the exact name of the field, right? So get past the employees back over here, stores, great. Okay, so, but description 1 is literally just description 1, right? So if I was adding description 1 to that, I should be able to do it by just typing in, it would be b.description 1, right? Right. So right. So here it is, B, right? RPS, the RPS is the database. Document item is the table, right? And B is the alias. So then up here it would be B dot description 1, right? And then comma. So you have to adhere to all the rules and grammar and punctuation of SQL. So when you say select, you say select this field, comma, this field, comma, this field. And then when you're done with that phrase, you don't have a comma and you say from, right? So every one of these should have a little comma after it. Right. So here you see a little comma at the end of that phrase. This entire phrase here creates a field. Sum this data and multiply it out. Comma, do this again, comma, do it again, but there's no comma there. There it goes to the from statement, right? So All right. I should warn you also. I like version 10. I like it kind of better in a lot of ways, but in version 10, there's a little anomaly that I think they're trying to fix right now that I have had trouble with. Create mode, simple mode, okay. Select category, sales, input fields. And I do like this interface better. I do feel like this is going to be the version that's going to take off and be a little bit more. But what right now is tough when you add quantity. Now, what I like is if you were there when I did the last equation, I had to add the field, save it, then I had to go back and edit them, which isn't that hard. Okay, it's not that hard, but here I can just type an asterisk and just press enter. See, so I could say quantity times price here, right? And I could go find the price, and I could say add that as extended price, right? Right, and then I could say find DCS code, and I could say DCS code. Now, and I could then move this over, right? Move it around. Now, the problem I have is when you get into calculations, it doesn't let you put the same character in twice. So if I had to do a margin and I didn't have margin amount, so I had to subtract price from cost and divide that by price, right? Then I would have to put in price, right? So actually, I'd have to put in basically one of these, right? And I would have to put in price and document item price. And then I'd have to put a minus sign in, right? Enter. And then I'd have to put in cost. Document item cost. Okay, then I'd have to put my closing bracket, right? And then I would have to put in a slash, divide by price and document item price. Oh yeah, I just realized I just hit the problem, didn't I? So here, if I'm adding document item price, it won't add that because I've already got it in the phrase. Just the same token, if I could put the price in here, so let's put in original price or something, just so I plug the hole here, right? If I put in all right, we'll pick that. Then I'd have to do is I'd have to put another set of brackets in there like this, right? Because I need one on the right and one on the left, but it won't let me add those because I need to multiply that entire phrase by 100 to get it to show as a correct percent. Sorry, and I dismissed that. No, you just added. Right. So I'm not sure we're ready for version 10. I think we're ready. They just put this out about a month or two ago, and I think we're waiting for the next generation of it so that this little anomaly here gets fixed. Because I do like version 10. I think it is better. I think this whole platform is faster, much faster for speed, for sure, no question there. It's actually very quick. Any of these reports are quick. Let's go back to just reports here. That was not going to be successful anyway. And if I can just run, I don't even know what kind of data I have, and I have almost no data in here, by the way. So quick run is now at the top, but it's right there. And boom, there's some data, right? But generally speaking, this platform is pretty amazingly fast. And again, we have the sort the ability to sort or filter on any of these things quickly. Still got the ability to, I believe, hide or show, right, fields. We got the ability to move them around. If I want UPC out of the way, I can just drag it over, right? Save settings. So there's my filter, right? We could start toying around with fields to filter on and how I want to filter them. And I have not played with this version as much now. Now I'm losing where we add a chart, how we add a chart. Maybe we have to be in edit mode here. But again, this is, like I said, a brand new version, and they still have to hammer out that simple mode sort function, because that is it's a lot easier if you can just type the expression in and not have to go back and add it in my head anyway. If that makes sense. While we're out here too, we should scroll down and see what they put into. I just loaded this. I haven't really had a chance to look at these reports much, but the same reports exactly, right? They have the same ones here, I think, in both versions. Yeah, same exact reports. The comparison reports are identical on both sides. Source summary by DCS and date, blah, blah, blah. Let's see what it's in here. Now, these are Retail Pro reports, top end, stock, movement, comparison report. Well, all right, so no, I was excited there. I saw item and I saw comparison, and it turns out they're on different lines, right? So sales comparison year over last, sales comparison by department. Let's see what this one looks like though, right? Right, so this is at the store level, right? It doesn't say store level. I didn't see it saying store level. It just says Prism sales comparison year over last, but this one's at the store level, not the, so we'd have to just write one of these at the item level, which could be done. If I can't write the SQL, I have a person or resource I could tap to help me write the SQL. We have a programmer that helps with that, those kinds of things that we could get. So, you know, if you had Prism and you needed a specific report written, I'm sure I could get it done. It might take me a little time with the programmer, but she's very good. She's not going to have a problem filling those in. And I suspect I could get pretty close. Hopefully that answers your questions. Good to hear from you again too, Laura. Nice to see you jumping in there. All right, so we've wandered around a bit. Are there any other questions I can answer for you? Does that give you a good feel for what's going on with crunch reports right now? I'm still kind of bummed that I couldn't make that pivot table work. That was kind of bugging me earlier, but I haven't looked at that in a few months. There's a piece I'm missing. There is a built-in pivot table, by the way, that's pretty slick, that you can then export out if you're into pivots. Not everybody is, but all right. Well, if there's no other questions, and everybody's got the answers they need for today, I think I'm going to tell you thank you very much for joining, and let you go. Thank you very much, Michael. Good to see you too. And you guys have a good rest of your day. Stay safe. All right. See ya.